What happened to Larys Strong? House of the Dragon Season 3 finale. What happened to Larys Strong in the House of the Dragon Season 3 finale? Larys Strong has always been one of the most mysterious and dangerous characters in the entire Dance of the Dragons. He rarely fights with a sword, he doesn't ride a dragon, he doesn't command a massive army. Instead, Larys survives through information, manipulation, patience, and knowing exactly when to disappear. And that is exactly what makes his fate at the end of Season 3 so interesting. Because unlike many of the major characters in the finale, Larys Strong does not die. Instead, his story is left deliberately open as House of the Dragon moves toward its fourth and final season. To understand where Larys ends up, we have to look at the strange journey he has taken with Aegon throughout Season 3. At the beginning of the season, Larys helps Aegon escape King's Landing. Aegon has been badly injured, his authority has collapsed, and Aemond has effectively taken control of the Green Cause. Larys knows that if Aegon stays in King's Landing, Aemond will eventually kill him. So Larys secretly gets Aegon out of the city. The plan doesn't go smoothly. Their carriage is intercepted by soldiers loyal to Rhaenyra, and Larys makes a ruthless decision. He revealed Aegon's identity. At first, this looks like a betrayal. But Larys isn't simply trying to save himself. He is calculating the situation. If they are captured, Larys knows that Aegon may be valuable enough to keep alive. And that calculation ultimately works. The pair escape during the chaos created by the Triarchy forces and eventually make their way toward Rook's Rest. There, Aegon becomes obsessed with finding his dragon, Sunfire. Larys, meanwhile, remains focused on survival. This becomes one of the most fascinating relationships of Season 3. Aegon doesn't trust Larys, and Larys certainly doesn't behave like a traditional loyal advisor. But somehow, the two men become dependent on each other. Both are damaged, both are outsiders in different ways, and both understand what it means to be underestimated. Larys eventually tells Aegon some brutally honest truths about the kind of king he was. Aegon was not a good ruler, and Larys makes it clear that surviving the war will require more than simply reclaiming the Iron Throne. By the middle of the season, the two are joined by Tywin Lannister as they attempt to find a way forward. Their journey eventually takes them toward the coast, where they intend to cross the narrow sea. But Larys' priorities are never completely clear.
Is he genuinely trying to save Aegon? Is he simply protecting himself? Or is he positioning himself for whatever regime eventually wins the war? The answer is probably all three. That is what makes Larys different from almost everyone else in House of the Dragon. Most characters choose a side and then suffer because of that loyalty. Larys chooses survival, and he is willing to change his strategy whenever the political landscape changes. That becomes especially clear in Season 3, Episode 7. Aegon decides that he no longer wants to run. He wants to make his stand with Sunfire rather than spend the rest of his life as a fugitive. Tywin decides to stay with him. Larys, however, prepares to leave. He tells Aegon that he will only stay if the king commands him to. Aegon doesn't, and that is significant. Larys then effectively says goodbye. He tells Aegon that it will be his duty to see that King Aegon is remembered. It sounds almost like a farewell to a man who believes he may be about to die. But Larys survives. And that is exactly what we would expect from him. He knows when to leave. Aegon's situation changes dramatically when Sunfire is revealed to still be alive. The dragon emerges and destroys the soldiers surrounding Aegon. Suddenly, Aegon's position changes again. He is no longer simply a crippled former king hiding in the countryside. He has a dragon. He has a claim to the throne. And he has a potential path back to power. Larys, however, isn't there to see that transformation through. And that brings us to the Season 3 finale. The finale focuses heavily on the escalating chaos of the Dance of the Dragons. Tumbleton becomes a battlefield. Alliances collapse. Rhaenyra becomes increasingly authoritarian.
Aegon and Aemond finally confront their complicated relationship, and several major characters meet their fate. But Larys is conspicuously absent. That absence is important. The show does not give us a death scene for Larys. It does not show him being captured. It does not reveal that he has been killed. Instead, his whereabouts remain unknown. And that is almost certainly intentional. Larys has always been a character whose greatest weapon is his ability to disappear into the background. The show has also deliberately changed aspects of his story from George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. In the book, Larys's movements during this period are much less clearly documented. The historical nature of Fire and Blood means there are rumors and conflicting accounts about what Larys actually did. The television series has turned that ambiguity into a character trait. We don't know exactly what Larys is thinking, and we don't always know where he is going. What we do know is that Larys has survived, and that means his story can continue into Season 4. This is particularly interesting because Larys is one of the few characters who understands the political game from a completely different perspective. Rhaenyra believes in her claim. Aegon believes in his crown. Aemond believes in strength. Daemon believes in destiny, violence, and loyalty to his family. But Larys believes in something much simpler: survival. He doesn't need to be king. He doesn't need to sit on the Iron Throne. He doesn't even need to be loved. He needs to make sure that when the war ends, he is still alive. And that philosophy has kept him alive while much more powerful people have fallen. His history proves it. Larys orchestrated the fire at Harrenhal that killed his father and brother, allowing him to become Lord of Harrenhal. He manipulated information around the royal court. He built a network of informants. He played both sides when necessary, and when King's Landing became too dangerous, he disappeared with Aegon. Now, at the end of Season 3, he is once again somewhere in the shadows. And that creates a major question for the final season. Who will Larys choose to support? If Aegon returns to King's Landing, could Larys return with him? Could he attempt to regain influence at court? Could he secretly work against Aegon? Or could he decide that the safest option is to disappear completely until the war is over? There is another possibility. Larys may become important precisely because he knows so much. He has information about Aegon. He knows what happened in King's Landing. He understands the Green faction. He has interacted with powerful members of both sides. And in Westeros, information can be more valuable than an army. That makes Larys dangerous even when he is nowhere near the battlefield. He doesn't need a dragon to change the outcome of the war. He only needs the right secret, the right person, and the right moment. That's why his disappearance at the end of Season 3 shouldn't be interpreted as the end of his story. If anything, it could be the opposite. Larys has always been most effective when nobody knows exactly what he is doing, and now nobody knows where he is. That is the perfect position for him. So, what happened to Larys Strong? He survived Season 3. He separated from Aegon before the final stage of the season, and the finale does not reveal his death or capture. His ultimate location remains unknown, but that mystery may be exactly the point. Larys Strong has survived the fall of his family. He survived the collapse of Aegon's first reign. He survived Aemond's rise. He survived the chaos surrounding King's Landing, and now he has disappeared once again. In a story where kings, princes, dragon riders, and armies are constantly being destroyed, Larys has discovered something far more useful than power. He has discovered how to remain invisible, and that may be why he is still alive. The final season is expected to bring the Dance of the Dragons to its conclusion, with Season 4 confirmed as the fourth and final season. So don't count Larys Strong out yet. Because when the war is finally over and the survivors begin asking who manipulated the pieces behind the scenes, there is a very good chance that the answer will once again lead back to the clubfoot. Larys may not have a dragon. He may not have an army. He may not even have a throne. but he has something almost every other player in this war lacks: